Welcome to the Saints Happy Hour podcast featuring Dave Cariello, Andrew Juge, Ralph Malbrough, and when he decides to show up, Kevin Held. We are the perfect blend of Saints sincerity and stupidity.
I want to point out that you asked Kevin a football question just now, and I feel like I was in Bizarro World where
He knew the schedule?
he had knowledge of the next two opponents.
Kevin, did you watch the game?
And now, here's your host, Ralph Malbrough.
All right, everybody, welcome to a Sunday night edition of the Saints Happy Hour podcast. We're live streaming as always. Dave is here, Andrew is here, and I want to start the show off on a serious note. As many of you know on Twitter, Kevin's dad has the COVID-19 or coronavirus or whatever, and he is in pretty rough shape, but we are praying for him. He's going to pull through. Kevin, we're thinking about you. So there's that. But apparently, Dave, in lighter news, Sean Payton is apparently going a little stir crazy. He's opening up the playbook, diagramming his favorite Saints plays. So I tweeted at him if he wants to break down film, he could join us on the Saints Watch quarantine party Saturday night when we do Saints Giants from 2015, and he could go over all 7 of Drew's touchdowns, and we won't even make that much fun of the defense.
I'm not promising that I'm not making fun of the defense. The defense was atrocious in that game.
Yeah, speak for yourself, Ralph.
We could once we get him on, we just have to say whatever's necessary to get him on. We tell a little lies, and
Don't you think as soon as he starts visualizing footage of himself screaming at Rob Ryan, it's all going to come back, and he's going to encourage us to flame on the defense?
I think he would, man. That game was bonkers, and the Saints defense, like, when it wasn't being horrific and making horrible plays, it was making terrible plays, and plays when they would get off the field, they had personal fouls and shit to stay on the field, and then Eli would throw to Beckham. I think Beckham had like 4 touchdowns on the same play against Delvin Breaux. But I'm just saying, John, if you listen or somebody in the Saints, they're listening while they're working remotely, we have fun on the quarantine watch party. It's very entertaining. People seem to like it. So, interesting bit of Saints news, Andrew, this week in that Mickey Loomis went on Peter King and was like, I don't think we should do the draft in April. We need to move that thing back. And then 2 days later, Goodell came out and was like, not only are we having the draft when it's scheduled, but any NFL executives, y'all need to stop saying that we need to move that shit back. Button it up. We're having it then. Shut your mouth. So I thought that was interesting for a whole range of things. But what did you take from Mickey Loomis saying, hey, we really need to postpone the draft because we can't do our normal scouting procedures? What did you take? Not that it will be moved, because obviously Goodell doesn't care, but sort of as it involves the Saints, do you think it will affect how they draft this year?
Well, the Saints, Mickey Loomis basically commented that, yeah, he wanted to, if you listen to his podcast with Peter King, he basically said, yeah, our process is affected. I definitely would like to see the draft move back. And if it isn't, that's a significant problem for us, the way we do things and our ability to do it properly. And Sean Payton mentioned something later that was like, yeah, we hope to get it moved. I think there's a chance it might. And then very quickly, a memo goes out. Roger Goodell publicly states it's not being moved. So, I think it's interesting because the Saints have had less draft picks than other teams for a while now, for at least a couple years in a row. And it certainly is the case again this year. So on the surface, you would say less picks than everyone else. Other teams are at an advantage against you. But it's clear that based on their success the last several years and their belief in what they're doing, that the Saints think they have a leg up on everyone else. They think that their process is better and they have a significant advantage going into the draft. I mean, Yeah, I think
The
so
results
too.
say it.
Yeah,
At least the results confirm what they
results
believe.
support it. Yep. And so that advantage is now gone. I mean, that's basically what Mickey Loomis is admitting and saying. And on top of that, they have less picks than everyone else. So I do think coming out of the other side of this, you're going to have a roster, at least in terms of what the draft gives you, that's it's just not going to be as fruitful for you as other teams.
Dave, do you think the lack of not so much the personal visits of getting an idea of the personality of the players and all that, but the Saints do that. I don't want to call it weird, but it's extensive sort of testing of how players learn and that sort of thing. And they did it. They did a ton of it with Marcus Davenport, and they decided, look, he's really raw, but we feel like he retains knowledge in the way we want him to, and that made them go all in and move up to get him. Do you think the inability to do those sorts of things is going to make Loomis less YOLO-y?
I don't understand. Can they not like have Zoom meetings with these
Well, they can, but
potential draft players?
is a
I mean,
Zoom meeting the
you're
same as
trying to
like in
gauge
the room?
whether he's gonna. Well, I don't know. Understand why you can't have a go-to meeting, a Zoom meeting, whatever. You got a chalkboard where you are. You fucking write some diagrams on the play. He's watching it. I don't understand why all of this can't be done virtually. I mean, I'm being dead serious.
Well, I mean, it
The
can,
rest
but
of the world is having in the face of this global pandemic, the rest of this world is having to adopt and new technologies and change and get used to working from home and working virtually. And the NFL should be no different. In fact, they should
do
be.
you think the
further
world is
along-
as productive
further
as it
along
was
in
2
this.
weeks ago? I mean,
I
I
don't
speak
think
for
it
myself. I
was
mean,
productive.
I'm just saying.
No, but I'm just saying, like, people are now working from home. Lawyers are working from home. Andrew's dad is probably working from home and doing meetings through Zoom or GoToMeeting or whatever now, as opposed to maybe stuff that used to be face to face or
Yeah.
like that funny tweet that was out. We're about to find out which meetings really could have just been emails. So I don't see why this has to stop the evaluation process of draft picks. I really don't.
So you guys are against me. I think it's gonna hold them down in this sense, Andrew. I think they're gonna look at their board and they're gonna have less players that they're 100% certain about. Where it used to be, they would be like, "Hey, these are our top 100." I think they may look at their board and be like, "Look, these 45 guys, we are really certain about them. Their grades are really good. We got to get 2 of those dudes." And that could make them be extra YOLO instead of more passive. That's
I
one
don't
theory
think
that
so.
somebody.
I think it's going to be the opposite. I think they're going to second guess their usual process, which is they identify a guy, they trust their process so much that they know, hey, this guy is much better than everyone else thinks he is, and so let's trade up and go get him because the value is just too good for him to still be available at the spot. I think now they'll second guess that, and they'll say to themselves, well, we haven't had enough time with the guy. We haven't had a chance to see him in person. We know Sean Payton, at least with quarterbacks, or probably with all offensive players, really values seeing them in person. I mean, he said that. I've heard him say in interviews, like, it's just different when you're there and they're working out for you in person, and he calls it getting your eyes at field level. I do think that makes a difference. So I believe the Saints will be more inclined to just stand pat and stay where they are and kind of let the draft come to them. And I mean, we'll see. I guess it's possible we'll still see some trade ups, but I think when you trade up, you better be right.
Well,
because you're burning assets to move up. You better be certain that the guy you're getting is worth 2 draft picks, 3 draft picks, whatever you're getting up to get him. And I just don't think the Saints are going to have that kind of confidence.
Well, here's the thing, though, Dave. What if all the teams have less confidence in their board and the prices to move up are discounted? Would that affect Loomis? Would that be like too strong of a temptation to overcome? Like, I know I'm not supposed to go out and like mingle with people. But if the liquor store was giving away free honey bourbon, like I wouldn't be able to help myself, and I might just say fuck social distancing and just do it, right? So do you think if other teams are like, hey, it usually costs a third to move up 8 spots in the first round, but this year we'll take a fourth? Like, do you think that would make Loomis get back to his old YOLO ways?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know whether that's going to be the case. I don't know. I don't think that there's going to be a deflation in value for draft picks, but if there were, I could see Loomis doing it. He wouldn't be the only one, but yeah, I guess that's possible.
I mean, forgetting Mickey Loomis's psychology for a second and just talking practically, if you operate in a YOLO way when doing your business, you would think that the coronavirus and putting all of our mortalities at the forefront of our minds would make you more YOLO than ever.
So you're saying this is like, if the Rona doesn't initiate full YOLO, nothing will.
I mean, that's what I'm suggesting. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself there, but I will say this. I do think this is probably not great for the Saints. It's not great for everyone, so at least it's an even playing field in that sense. But if the Saints have a process that they love and that is better than a lot of other teams out there, then I do think maybe that levels the playing field in terms of
I have to say,
teams
man,
being able to draft.
teams better have their Wi-Fi in order, because everything's going to be remote. If you better get that, you might want to get that pick in like with a minute 2 to spare, because if your Wi-Fi is fucked, clock could run out, the pick doesn't get in. We could have mayhem with this draft. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Um,
But no, I would say this. I'm glad they're not moving it back. All that being said,
We need it.
I don't love that it's a disadvantage for the Saints, but it's kind of like free agency. It's just
Yeah.
I need some normalcy, and I'm just thrilled that the NFL is finding ways to maintain this stuff, because without it, I just don't know what we would be talking about.
Dave,
and what.
Do you like the idea that somebody floated where they do a round a night to stretch it out, because we have no sports at all?
They do what? Where they do
They
what?
do a round a night, and it's a week long.
Oh, so it's a week long. Oh, yeah. I'd rather them do that, because you get into these. Then that makes every round more interesting, and then every morning when you get up, you can check to see who's available, and you only have to worry about the 30. Well, there's more than 32 picks as you get into the later rounds, because teams have multiple picks or whatever. But I'm all for stretching this bad boy out as long as we can, because I'm gonna be done with Lion King by tomorrow, and then I don't know what the hell I'm gonna start watching.
Tiger King.
Sorry, Tiger King. No. I'm gonna be watching Disney's animated movie Lion King.
Exotic. What's it? Joe Exotic in animated form would be a sight to behold.
I gotta say, we'll get to Tiger King in a minute. We got the other interesting piece of Saints news, Andrew, was Mickey Loomis went on the Saints in-house podcast, and he said he was surprised that they were able to retain David Onyemata and Andres Peat. Like, going into free agency, he didn't think that was going to be possible. So what contract of Andres Peat or David Onyemata do you think he views as being below market value?
Well, I would probably say Onyemata between the two. I would guess that he was probably a little surprised that Andres Peat didn't go day one. But I heard that soundbite too. I wondered how much that comment was colored by the CBA. In other words, had the CBA not passed, then I think Drew and Taysom probably would have taken up almost all the Saints cap, and he wouldn't have been able to do.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
The Jackrabbit deal. He wouldn't have been able to do some of those other deals, like with Drew Brees, where he deferred some of the cap hit till subsequent years and ghost years. So I just think, I wonder if he was like, yeah, I didn't know if the CBA was going to pass or not, And so had it not, I would have not been able to re-sign any of my guys, or at least maybe I would have kept one at best. So I really do think the CBA went a long way towards helping out Loomis and the Saints keep both players.
Somebody in the chat room asked, which team do you think has the worst Wi-Fi? My money's on the Bengals, followed by the Redskins. Somebody said the Bengals they have AOL. What team do you think would have had the worst Wi-Fi? Do you think?
I would think the Redskins have good Wi-Fi. I would think Snyder is going to pay for it.
Do you think I think Mike Brown might have the Bengals do their draft war room at Starbucks, so he doesn't have to pay for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Bengals. Raiders possibly.
Yeah, Raiders. Raiders are
they're
tough.
In Vegas now.
Yeah, but Vegas is completely shut down, so you can't even go to a casino and get off the visitor Wi-Fi. Dave, who do you think would have the worst Wi-Fi?
Which team?
Yeah.
I feel like Seattle, the Seahawks, would have the best Wi-Fi. And the worst, the Browns.
Let's go ahead and just take a shot at the Falcons here.
It is 328, baby. How did you celebrate 328 Day, Andrew?
By pretending to boost my internet signal. I didn't really do much, just it's 328 was yesterday, right? I don't even have any idea what day it is. I can't keep track of this anymore.
It is.
Just to make it 28-3. Bryant knocks it through. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25.
I just needed an excuse to play that. I know the date was wrong. But as you get into
all this Sean Payton, this play breakdown stuff, this is interesting stuff.
It is. He's literally got cabin fever. He's
got like 3 plays on here. Well, and so this is interesting. So he says they use sandwich terms for their tight splits. So so in a play call they might say JJ, which stands for Jimmy John's, or they'll say club, or they'll say stack, or they'll say Quiznos. And then he tags Quiznos and Jimmy John's in the tweet too, which I like.
I thought Quiznos was bankrupt.
I didn't even think they were around anymore.
I love the Quiznos.
No, they're around. They tweeted
honey bourbon
7 hours ago.
Sandwich. It was good. Man, what would be like a play call, Andrew, that if it had a fast food restaurant, you would know that it would be a failure?
Well, what's the Italian place that Dave hates again?
Olive Garden.
You couldn't
Olive
think of
Garden.
that.
I feel like
I don't know
Popeyes, the Popeyes play call, it could be amazing or it could be terrible, because with Popeyes you never know what you're going to get with your order, because there's like a 50-50 shot they get it right. So
when they get it right, it's good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Popeyes, I'm just like, just get me my biscuit and my mashed potatoes and gravy. Anything else, I don't even care. You don't have to get it right.
I still can't believe you don't get the red beans and rice.
I don't like the red beans, man.
That's
probably because you've never had Popeyes red beans.
I've had it. I just don't like. You could give me literally the best red beans and rice on earth, and I would be like,
that's Popeyes.
It's all right. Well, then that's it. That's Popeyes. It's okay. I just like red beans and rice isn't my thing.
Man, if you think red beans and rice at Popeyes is the best that exists, Dave, you haven't lived.
It is. I don't even like red beans and rice.
What's wrong with you guys?
It's a fact. Popeyes has the best red beans and rice.
Red beans and rice is awesome, and you have not had good ones, obviously.
You're probably one of those psychos that puts mustard on their red beans and rice.
Hell no.
What?
Are you insane?
People do that?
Yeah,
what is that?
Oh yeah, my father-in-law does that.
Oh my God.
That's a thing.
That is disgusting.
That is not a thing. Is he from
It
Lafayette?
is a thing.
Is he from Lafayette or some shit?
No, he's from
Jesus.
he's from like Araby or whatever,
Jesus.
by way of Texas. Yeah, people in the chat. Let's hear out. Surely somebody in the chat knows somebody that puts mustard on their red
That is
beans.
disgusting.
That's even more of an abomination than leaving your butter out.
That is the scat play of food. Mustard on your red beans and rice. I'm offended, and I don't even like red beans and rice. So, I got a really serious Saints question last week from somebody after the show ended, and I think we need to address it right now. Dave, which Saints defensive back historically would never, ever catch the Rona?
Oh, it's funny because
I thought about this
you-
question for like 45 minutes.
well, no, because when you originally gave us the show topics, you said just which Saints player in general
It could be
never
Saints
catch-
player in general.
would never catch the run. Well, no, but my answer, I thought you were asking about current Saints player, and so my answer was going to be PJ Williams, and he's a DB. So it's funny that we were all, a DB was definitely going to be the answer, an answer for this question. So current Saints player, I would say PJ Williams.
Yeah,
See,
it's too bad AJ Klein left because he was the king of dropped interceptions.
Well, I was going to say all time. I think Roman Harper was
Yes.
was the no catching motherfucker of to take
Fred
all no
Fred
catching.
Thomas was exceptionally good at dropping interceptions.
See, I was thinking Brandon Browner because not only would he not catch the Rona, he would think the Rona was a teammate and he would tackle it and defeat it. So that was my Brandon Browner. To Bucky Jones, did he drop a lot of interceptions, Andrew? I couldn't
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I thought that was a great question on which.
He would try to catch the virus. He would dive at it and then still find a way to miss it.
See, Jason Champagne says he knows somebody that put mustard on white beans.
Oh my God! Jesus, man! It's like I feel like.
But he said never red beans.
Right, he
Never.
hasn't heard anybody that puts it on red beans. Right, they're out there.
Josh
Your
T says-
father-in-law is one of one.
And I'm gonna look this up right now. I'm gonna Google mustard on red beans and rice.
Now, my grandmother did make a coleslaw with mustard, which I always found interesting.
That
Yeah,
doesn't sound terrible, but sounds weird and unorthodox, but not terrible.
I thought.
Yeah, I always thought it was pretty good.
I thought potato salad with gumbo was weird until I did it, and it's amazing.
Yeah, that's also unacceptable.
'Cause what I don't like about that is like, so you've got a hot bowl of gumbo, and usually the potato salad is at least lukewarm room temperature, if not
Yeah.
colder. And then
Yeah,
you drop it into your hot gumbo, and it's like putting an ice cube in your fucking gumbo.
I'm with you. That's weird.
So,
Here's a thread on tiger droppings on the food and drink forum of tiger droppings that said, I was just recently informed that this isn't a normal or even known thing. I learned it from my mom, who learned it from hers. Anyone else ever heard of it? This guy puts mustard.
Are we
on
talking
his-
about mustard? Oh
Yeah.
God, we're still talking about this.
Somebody says I sometimes add a touch of vinegar or sour
The
salt.
fact
I don't
that
think
the
it's sour
only
salt.
place you could find it online, Dave, was a tiger droppings.
probably from like
Thread.
2011
I mean,
thread.
that says it all right there.
Here's another
Pickle juice.
pickle juice. Here's another Rona question that I was thinking of, Andrew. It's a desperate time in America. It's dark times. People are ingesting all sorts of crazy things to avoid getting the Rona, cure the Rona, all that sort. A man died in Arizona because he ate. It's something that you use to clean fish tanks, but it's very close to some sort of drug that people think might help you ward off the Rona. He ingested a bunch of it and died. His wife seems really weird. I think she probably killed him with it, but that's neither here nor there. But I was thinking of like, what's the weirdest thing you've ever put into your body or on your body for any reason at all?
Wait, we need to go back to that story. This sounds like another Carol Baskin situation.
I was gonna say.
Well, we'll
I
get-
feel
Did his
like
wife feed him to the fishes?
that was a perfect segue for Joe Exotic. Yeah.
Joe I wish Joe Exotic was president right now. I'm not gonna lie. Like he's amazing.
He got 19% of the vote for governor in Kentucky, apparently.
I mean, dude, the poor girl gets her arm ripped off by the tiger. The first thing he does is put on the EMT jacket that made him look fucking amazing. And he's walking around smoking a cigarette. I mean, like, I was confused about why people were so into that show until me and my wife watched three episodes of it last night. My wife called Joe Exotic the white trashier Bret Michaels.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of I called him a cross between Charles Manson and Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Here's another thing with the Tiger King show, Dave. Maybe you could explain it to me. Why does one of Joe Exotic's husbands, why does he not like dental
Just
work?
one of his husbands.
And he doesn't have teeth, and he doesn't wear a shirt during any of the interviews. Like, what is up with that?
Well, first of all, the lack of teeth, certainly that helps in
The answer is
oral
meth.
sexual relations.
The answer is meth.
No, actually, I saw. Do we have a soundbite? Do we have that?
I mean, I don't want to spoiler alert here. I don't want to spoiler alert here, but at the end you find out the guy isn't even gay. He just likes meth.
He just likes meth and getting shit paid for him by his sugar daddy, tiger daddy. No, but actually, if you Google it, he's actually now he has like a full set of fake teeth. He's gotten all of that fixed, and he admitted that he did do meth, but his teeth weren't messed up because of meth. They were just messed up because of just poor oral hygiene, I think. But
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe Exotic probably told him not to get his teeth fixed because he probably liked it in the bedroom.
Man, I feel like this is a middle of June episode of this show. Not a March episode. We're talking about.
It feels like it's June 527th.
The quarantine hasn't slowed down our humor at all. We're still in peak.
I mean,
form.
I every episode I would tell my wife, I would say we gotta stop this. I can't do this. I can't keep going. And she's like, no, come on, let's do one more. Let's keep it going. And I ended up watching the whole thing in like 3 days.
Of course you did. I don't know how you. 3 days. It took you 3 days. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Ralph. So, what was your original question before we started about?
What's the craziest thing you've ever ingested into your body or put on your body for any reason?
I can't say anything weird. I had a colonoscopy a few months ago, so I had to drink that liquid.
Oh, I've had to do one before too, and that's awful.
Yeah.
And then I was asleep, so I don't know what they put in my butt, but whatever they put in my butt, that was probably the weirdest thing that's ever been inside my body, I would say.
No, I was thinking for like weird circumstances. Like for me, I have one dark circle under my right eye that won't go away, and I have tried every fucking thing under the sun. I have used potatoes. I have used peanut butter. I have used a boiled egg to try to get rid of this one fucking dark circle, and it won't go away. That's what I was thinking of.
Why are you putting these things on your eye? You think that's gonna make? Why would an egg make a dark circle go away? What are you?
I don't know. I saw it on the internet, Dave.
Hey, try an egg.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was try an egg. I did it. It didn't work.
Have you tried cucumbers?
I have tried cucumbers. They have not worked.
Have you tried Joe Exotic's penis yet?
If it would get rid of this dark circle, I would do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Have you tried Joe Exotic's meth? Yeah, I can't top Dave. I mean, I've been trying CBD a little bit lately because apparently it's good for inflammation. I'm not sure it works really. So I don't know. That's kind of weird.
I mean, yeah, college. I put a lot of things in my body in college, but I wouldn't say any of that was weird.
You pouring out for desperation cure. I'm the only one slathering peanut butter under one of my eyes. Should I get rid of the
Yes, you
black?
are.
It's all right. People know I don't have secrets on this podcast. But before we get to questions that we have from people, the NFL season, to me, as they move these quarantine things further back, now it's they're saying April 30th, we're going to reevaluate everything. Everybody's going to have to stay quarantined in their house till April 30th. And as we move it, as it gets stretched, Andrew, a little further out, I worry more and more about the NFL season. The EPL is talking about they're going to send all of the English Premier League teams to some remote location in Britain, and they're going to house them all in like a dorm or something, and they're going to play games in an empty stadium and finish out their season, and the government is all for it to like help the people have a distraction and all. What sort of lengths do you think the NFL will go to in order to have a 2020 season if it comes to that?
Yeah, man, that's insane. That just seems to me like if one dude gets the coronavirus, then they're all exposed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that doesn't seem like it would work, but I mean, it'd be interesting. It'd be like The Bachelor, putting them on all on some remote island together and just finding a football field where you don't need any fans, right? So you could just do it on a field. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, they got to have TV. Like the NFL, that's where they make their money, right, Dave? So they got to have TV. But
They got to have TV.
So, Dave, do you think they would? I think they'll bump it. If need be, they'll bump it back. But I'm just wondering how much of lengths will they go? Will they bump it back and have empty stadiums? Because I think they're going to want to desperately have it, and people are going to want to have it just for normalcy. Because if we get to the fall and we don't have football, man, America's just – I don't think we'll riot. It'll just be like mass sadness and horribleness. But
I mean, if we're still dealing with this in September and quarantined, I don't even.
Well, I don't
know
necessarily think – I don't think necessarily
that's
will
why,
be.
That's why I think it's going to be okay. I mean,
we're talking 6 months from now.
Yeah, I mean, let's say this go. I would like to think by June 1st that we're going to be able to resume to normal life. And if that's the case, you can still have your one or some of your mini camps. You can obviously have training camp.
I think that's grossly optimistic, Dave.
Well, but they could if they kind of start it's like. Right, like in June, we'll ease ourselves back into the pool, right? Like it'll be all right. Maybe you can start going back to work some places, and you can start doing a little stuff. So if they can start getting back to normal in June, maybe June, July, August, September, then you have 4 months. Maybe it starts a little later. I'm just thinking, Dave, the thing to me that makes me worry about them having a season is if the whole country isn't back. How do you have a season if Texas is okay, but New York and New Orleans is not, and California is not? How do you do the schedule? Do you say, "Oh, sorry, Giants, New York is a mess. You need to fly into a state that is open for business and have practice there and have games there," sort of Katrina style, like the Saints in 2005?
Yeah, my dad just posted in the chat, by the way. I mean, if the coronavirus could wipe out preseason this coming year, that might be the biggest favor it gives to humanity.
You know what would be amazing, Andrew, if it wiped out preseason and it becomes clear as day that preseason games are the total waste of time we always knew they were, and the NFL was able to not have preseason games and have a fantastic 2020 season. They could never bring back preseason because people would be like, "You didn't have it when we had the Rona and everything was fucking fine." Get the fuck out of here with this preseason game nonsense. That would be amazing. Trying to find trying to find the positives, right, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Is there is there anything in your life that the Rona has made better, Dave?
I mean, for better or for worse, it's nice to get to spend a bunch of time with my kids. I mean, obviously, we're all driving each other crazy, being cooped up in here.
Yeah, let's be honest. It's mostly for worse.
Um, but there've been a few things like I guess people have had time at home. So my mother emailed me a few old pictures that my uncle had found. I posted one on Facebook today. It was my grandfather in front of his store in Queens in like 1938, which I thought was super cool. And I think people are, New Orleans kind of has a not anywhere near the same level, but it's got kind of that everybody's being nice to each other, that post Katrina vibe where everybody feels like, we're in this together and we're helping each other out, and maybe you're being nicer to somebody or you're tipping bigger or something like that. So that's kind of nice too.
Oh no! By the way, Nick Underhill is raising money to give people that need groceries delivered to them, whether they're older or shut-ins or that. He's raising money to do that. You can find it on his Twitter. If you can support it, you should. Saints Happy Hour. We donated a couple $100 to it. It's a worthy cause. I think Nick's up to like 15 or 20 deliveries for people. If you can support it, you should do it. And by the way, you should support the podcast too. Do the $10 by April 1st, and you get full access to every daily show, and you get the Crew to Taysom Cup. There's 90 of you people that do that. You're going to get the Crew to Taysom Cup. You want to get on that April 1st. Do it. So that's a good thing. The one thing that the one positive for me is it has got me back to cooking and baking, and I baked biscuits today. I made cookie dough balls. I made meatloaf. Like, I am a cooking fanatic because I have nothing fucking else to do. ESPN, Andrew, do you know they put on wrestling, college fucking wrestling from 2013 today? It was on ESPN.
Who
at 12
wants to
o'clock.
watch that?
I don't know. Like,
was there something special about the 2013 college wrestling?
No, there's nothing. They need to play old NBA games, old NFL games. Come on, ESPN, get with the goddamn program already and just turn it into classic ESPN all the time. No one wants to watch college wrestling from 2013. Speaking of that, Andrew, is there any classic sports event that you would want ESPN to put on that would get your attention? Besides like a certain Saints game, which the NFL Network had the Saints Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't know if it's just like prisoner of the moment or whatever, but I don't like watching stuff that's already happened. I mean, I'll watch it occasionally, but I get the thrill of the moment. I like watching live sports. I don't even like watching like recorded stuff from earlier in the day. Like if I have an event and I make it back for the second half, I don't want to shut off my phone and shut out the world and tell everyone like, don't text me, don't tell me what's happened. Like, I can't handle it. Like if it's already happened, I need to know what's happened and I need to watch it in real time. I don't know. I have like a mental block against this. I don't.
This is a great question.
Maybe I may need to change the way I subscribe to this. I don't know.
This is a good question from Alfredo. Dave, if the NFL had to play in front of empty fans in 2020, how would it affect your enjoyment of the games?
Well, first of all, I'd like you to define empty fan. What is an empty fan?
Empty stadium. An empty fan is a Falcons fan because they have no soul.
I don't know if it would change it that much. It might be a little weird to start with. I think it's something you'd get used to. But when I'm watching a football game, I'm watching what's happening on the field. I'm not really What does it matter if there's people in the stands? I think it would be weird if there was no crowd noise. I'd like them to like add crowd noise in if they could, I guess. Although I guess maybe that would be weird if you're looking at a stadium that has empty seats. I don't know. But I would
Andrew,
rather
do you
them
think,
have a season and do it in an empty stadium than not have a season at all.
Andrew, do you think the NFL, if they had to do an empty stadium, do you think they would digitize the crowd in? Except for Falcons.
That would be very Atlanta Falconsy of them.
Like they add in the bird chirping noises at the Masters on ABC or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would be, if they have an empty stadium, I think it'll be really, really weird. You'll get used to it eventually, Dave, if they have to do it the whole year. But I'm telling you, that first month, it'll be weird because the players sort of feed off the crowd. If it's a road game, a home game, whatever, are they still gonna prance and and celebrate and flex after big plays? It's just gonna be weird, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. But I think it'll be the strangest sports experience of our life. Andrew's dad said Zoom attendance. Somebody said they're having professional lumberjacking on ESPN today. I wouldn't doubt it.
All right, there we go. Wait, no, Andrew's dad is onto something. Okay, so the Saints, they buy 70,000 cameras, GoPros or whatever. You attach it to all of the seats in the stadium, and then whatever season ticket, then you can log in and you can see the game from your seat, from the camera that's attached to your seat.
It's an interesting idea, but it's only interesting
if you pick one team as the home team, like it'd be interesting to see a scenario where they force the road team to wear headphones inside their helmet, and you basically can bid on being inside that guy's helmet, like in his earpiece, and you can just say whatever you want to him while the play's going on.
That's a horrible idea because you have the most the most vile, horrible fans would bid the most. I would bid $100,000 to be able to make sure Matt Ryan could hear every word I said for 3 hours, and I would just say the most unspeakably horrible things to him for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. Yeah,
I would be. It's delightful. It's also terrible.
Like you could probably
keep
get
whispering 28-3.
I mean, you could probably get like 10,000 seats out of one person if you offered that.
Probably. So we forgot to talk about two more things before we get out of here. First of all, the Saints kind of sort of moved the payment for tickets back, which for a lot of people, like my mom and maybe you, Dave, it was critical. Like that deadline was like looming, and like this hit where like a month ago you were like, it's the deadline for the tickets, it's fine, and now it's super critical. I wish they'd have been, Dave, I wish they'd have been more sort of public about it. They sort of were like, my mom, they were like, hey, if you call us and you just sort of need a little time, like my mom did, I wish they'd have been more public and been more sort of out front and generous with the fans, because I know a lot of people are probably having a hard time making that payment.
Yeah, and I mean, I did the same thing that your mother did, and I called them, and of course, once you call them and you ask them, they're fine with it. And again, like you, I was a little, I guess, disappointed or whatever. I would have thought they would have just come out and said, look, that we're just going to push it back, don't worry about it. But we talked about it last week. I get it. They're a business. They're going to try and get as much money as they can, and so I'm sure they were just hoping for any of the fans that could still pay for their season tickets to get that money, and not give everybody a reason to be able to not pay right now.
Hey, they got to pay this Emmanuel Sanders contract, man.
Well, I mean, it's a cash flow thing. I mean, I totally get it. You run your business and you're expecting at the end of March, you're expecting to get this huge influx of money from season ticket deposits, and all of a sudden it goes away. But at the same time, that's the problem that all of us are facing that own small businesses, like myself and like Andrew. We all got screwed on this, and we're all hurting. But
Yeah, but these
so yeah, they told me.
these ghost Teddy Bridgewater years aren't going to pay themselves.
So yeah, they pushed me back to maybe like this Friday, I think, the early April. And then I think they said if you still have a problem, call us back again and we'll talk about it again. So I think they'll let you push it back as far as you can, or even further if you need it.
But my thing is, like, this isn't getting better anytime soon. Like, people's financial states are only going to be worse in May.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, it's going to be I think it's going to be kind of horrible when April 1st hits, because even say whatever you want about whatever the government has done, the $1,200 check if you're married, you get 24 plus, a little for each, 500 for each child. That may help you in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, so that may help you for May, but that's only like a one-time thing. Like, if this goes into the summer, it's gonna get worse. I think you're probably right, Andrew. It's gonna be really interesting, I think, for places like New Orleans, New York, who has 2 teams, California, LA. The Chargers, they might not have any season ticket holders at all. Like, I mean, they were having massive troubles before this coronavirus hit. I know somebody that works for the Chargers, and he told me in February they had less than 9,000 season tickets sold for 2020. Andrew, I can't imagine that's gone that much higher lately.
And yet they're still going to roll with Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a team that needs to go get Cam Newton based on what you just said, it's them.
They can have him. They can have him Skype his Superman pose to sell tickets. Final topic, and then we'll get out of here. Dave, OutkickTheCoverage.com had a story that ESPN reportedly has offered Drew Brees the Monday Night Football booth analyst gig when he retires, which I guess they figured maybe will be after this year. First question is, man, that sucks for the people that are there, Booger and the Joe Tessitore. And I guess not Joe Tessitore, but Booger, is he's doing color now. But second question, more importantly, how do you think he would do as the Monday Night Football analyst?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, he just doesn't seem to me to be that kind of guy. I know people love Drew, but I don't really find him to be a charming guy. I mean, I know people like him because he does good things, and he's just a nice guy. But I don't think there's anything particularly charming about him. Obviously, he knows the game. Yeah, really. I don't think he's charming. No,
I think Drew's pretty well spoken and likable, and
that's different than being charming. Somebody who's charming, like, really pulls you in. Really makes you feel like you're their best friend and you want to just hang out with them all the time. I mean, yeah, Drew's likable, but I don't.
Well, that's the thing. Drew's going to work at it. I think, me and Andrew were sort of debating this back and forth on Twitter earlier today. I agree with you, Andrew. I think Drew will work at it and he will make himself good. But the thing is, to be like a great, well-known, sort of iconic announcer, you have to be like Madden or Romo or Don Meredith, way back when. I think Drew Brees is probably going to end up being like Bill Cowher or Tony Gonzalez, where he'll be fine, he'll be okay, but he's not going to be saying really interesting or controversial things, or, the thing that Tony Romo does, where he can diagnose the play and tell you what's going to happen, to be able to do that in 10-second windows is really difficult, and he does it with
Brees will be able to do that.
So that's my thing. So look, throughout the short history of television broadcasting for the NFL, it's been a natural transition for quarterbacks to go into the booth. Boomer Esiason, Phil Simms, Tony Romo now, I'm sure I'm what Dan Deerdoff was he? I mean, what's his face?
Dan Fouts.
Who used to be with the guy who used to be on Monday Night Football with the comedian guy.
Dan Fouts. Dan
Anyway,
Fouts, the guy he was in Waterboy.
Fouts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fouts. It's not unheard of for a quarterback to retire, a popular quarterback to retire and go to the booth. And I think you guys are right. I think where Drew Brees' strength would be to diagnose a play and break it down like Tony and say, oh, look, he's going to be, because that's what everybody loves about Tony. Right before the snap, he says, this is going to be a pass to this guy over here. And sure enough, that's exactly what it is. And that's why people love Rono. That's why I love Romo. And I think Drew could definitely do that. But you've got to
100%.
combine that. You've got to combine that, though, uh, with talking about the players on the field, and you've got to do your research and history of the players, and you've got to add in those little facts and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if Drew has that yet. And like you guys said, obviously, yes, when Drew does something, he does it to the max, 110%, and he would be good at it. But it's just, this offer to Drew Brees is obviously, Tony Romo has changed the game, and now everybody, because Tony Romo,
They
is
want
so
the next
popular,
Romo.
everybody is looking for the next Romo. And let's face it, all those quarterbacks I just mentioned that were in the booth, none of them are as good as Tony Romo. Tony Romo is a once in a lifetime. He was made for this. He's just naturally talented at this. And some of that, it's just like playing a sport. You can't teach it. Some guy could go out there and practice twice as hard as Drew Brees, but Brees is still going to be better because he's naturally gifted. And I think Tony Romo happens to be the one quarterback who's naturally gifted at making that switch over to being in the booth. And he's done a better job of it than any quarterback that's ever converted and gone to the broadcasting booth. And I don't think that you can just make an offer to any quarterback and hope that and think that that's going to happen.
Andrew, do you think
you
think Drew Brees, will he be Tony Romo or will he be Troy Aikman?
I just want to point out that Dave went on a similar rant about Zach Strief and was disbelieving of how good he was going to be in that role. And I knew Zach would be awesome at it because Zach is a great storyteller. And if you watch his presser, his retirement presser, and how he had the crowd in the palm of his hand, and it was hilarious. And I knew immediately he's going to be a great play-by-play guy. And I feel like he's come a really long way. He's improved a lot, and he's really good at that now. So I think it's a similar thing. Now, I don't think Brees has like that affable and just storytelling ability maybe that Strief has. And that's where he may be a little bit less relatable. I feel like Drew Brees is a little robotic, and I think this is what Dave is getting at. He's a little robotic in what he says, and I think that the big question that I have with Drew is he going to be able to let his hair down in this role? I think he feels like he's such a spokesperson for New Orleans, for the organization, for, he always wants to put on this face and this persona at all times. And he's very robotic. And I do think, or it feels that way. And I think what you're getting at, Dave, and I agree with this, is he going to be able to let his hair down and kind of just be a little bit more off the cuff? I think he will come off sounding maybe over prepared.
Well, you know what? The one thing that sort of changes my mind and swings me to your thing, Andrew, and I just thought of it. He was on the Dan Le Batard show, and anybody that listens to
Brees?
Yeah, he was. And anybody that listens to the Dan Le Batard show, that that, by the way, if you were looking to have a lighter mood and listen to them now, they're completely off the wall insane now that they're going through coronavirus and stuff, because they're a sports show, but they don't really want to talk about sports. They don't care about the best player in the list and breaking it down. They just don't care. They had Brees on, and I was like, oh, man, Brees is, like you said, he's stiff. He's kind of buttoned up. I'm like, is this going to go well? And he went on Le Batard, and he told the story about when he was on with Bear Grylls and the alligator, and he told jokes, and you could tell that, like, somebody said, Drew, you're going on the Le Batard show. This is what the Le Batard show does. And he wasn't like cracking jokes and totally wild loose, but he was much more sort of in their tone and sort of what their show is. He went along with the flow. And that to me, remembering that shows me that he knows sort of what he has to do. So I'm sort of with you, Andrew. I think he'll be more interesting because that's what's required of that to be great. Like, you can't just be you can be Bill Cowher, but has Bill Cowher or Troy Aikman, can you remember one interesting thing Troy Aikman has ever fucking said on a broadcast? I cannot.
No.
You know?
Yeah, I can't believe I even forgot Aikman on my list of quarterbacks that went to the broadcast booth. The problem is I agree with everything you guys said. Drew Brees he's like a politician. Everything he says is thought out and meant to be inoffensive. And that's fine. And yes, he would need to loosen up if he's going to be in the booth and be good and be somebody that people want to listen to. But I got news for you. I think even if he loosens up, I don't think he's that interesting of a guy. Sorry. I don't know. I just don't.
Maybe. I will say this. Him giving 20% of his salary, $5 million, to the state of Louisiana was awesome. And if you saw him interview with Hoda Kotb where it looked like he was laying down in his bed with the cell phone, it was an amazing interview, and he actually made Hoda Kotb cry, and she couldn't compose herself, and the other woman that does the show with her had to take over and like go pitch it to break, which was amazing. So that I guess wraps up this show, guys. We'll be keep doing the draft. The NFL says they're having the draft, so we'll be here. We'll do the Daily Show. Me and Andrew will keep knocking it out. Andrew, should we tell the people, the guests that you hounded and stalked until they agreed to come on the show? Should we tell them about
don't do that yet, because I don't want it to backfire.
I don't want it to backfire.
I don't want to jinx it.
But
let it be a surprise.
It's Joe Exotic.
Yeah. I want it
from jail.
From jail. Hey, I'll pay for the call, Joe, if you get this podcast in the Florida Corrections Facility, wherever you are. But keep in tune to the podcast this week. We have some big surprises for you, hopefully. Thanks to everybody that supports the show. We appreciate you. If you're not supporting the show and aren't a patron, you should be at the $10 level so you can have the show, because we deliver it every freaking day. And now that we're all cooped up on our house, at least till April 30th, you're going to need more stuff to do, to listen to, and that's where we come in. We deliver you this show every single day. Guys, thanks for joining us. Kevin, we're thinking about you. We're praying for your dad. Guys, until next week, the bar is closed.